Across Africa today, conversations around development are becoming more urgent and sadly a bit more complex, from economic growth to the security challenges, and from resource management to youth and unemployment, from governance to gender inclusion. Many African nations are still asking the same question: how do we move from potential to progress? And for a country like Nigeria, that question becomes even more important because Nigeria occupies a very unique position on the continent. With one of Africa's largest population, enormous natural resources, entrepreneurial energy, and growing youth population, expectations remain high about the role of the country. What role should the country play, not just nationally, but across Africa? Yet, at the same time, there are ongoing concerns around governance, around leadership, around economic inclusion and insecurity, as we highlighted, around industrial growth and sustainable development. Another major conversation gaining attention globally is the role of women in development and resource governance. Now, across sectors like the mining sector, agricultural sector, business, policy, and peace building, more women are stepping into leadership spaces and influencing national conversation. But many still argue that Nigeria has not fully harnessed the leadership potential of women in shaping long-term development outcomes. So this morning, we're asking crucial questions. What should Nigeria's role be in Africa's development journey? Is the country maximizing its resources and human capital effectively? And how important is inclusion leadership to national transformation? Joining us this morning is Dr. Janet FEBISOLA ADEYEMI. She's the president of Women in Mining Nigeria and a respected development advocate with experience spanning governance, policy, legislative affairs, peace building, and resource administration. She has served in various strategic national positions, including advisory and policy implementation roles, and continues to contribute to conversations around development, leadership, and inclusion across Nigeria and Africa. Dr. Janet, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much, and I'm grateful you have invited me.
Okay, let's begin broadly. How would you assess Nigeria's current role within Africa's development landscape?
I think if you don't go into research to really search it out, we will continue to criticize and say, oh, Nigeria is not doing well. But I think Nigeria is playing significant roles in view of even their own domestic challenges. As we speak, Nigeria is one of the largest population in the world, not necessarily even in Africa, with a population of over 200 currently, projected to by 2030 to get to almost 400 million. So you know what we have at stake in terms of human resources at our hands. And if you talk of, and then you look at the economy, the size of the economy, the nature of the people itself, the markets, you find that Nigeria is not doing badly because we literally supply the human capital needed. We just did not start. It started during even the military time. You know, the TAC project. If you look at the TAC project, that's a platform through which Nigeria sends experts to other countries to support other countries. And it's on record, let me put this on record, because of the xenophobic thing in South Africa, that if they forget easily, when we were in the university, I knew we have quite a number of them as lecturers, as students, you understand, who were on scholarship on Nigeria. So Nigeria has always been in the space, championing development across Africa.
Okay, there seems to be a lot we need to talk about on the conversation today. We'll just go for a very short break. When we return, we'll bring all we need to talk about today. Please do not go anywhere. Stay with us. Appreciate your time with us. The conversation is just getting started, and we're with Dr. Janet. Dr. Janet said something striking. Nigeria, if we don't do enough research, we will not see the impact. I'm sure this would really come off as a shock for maybe some of our viewers and maybe not all, considering the xenophobic attacks, right, which you also highlighted. Now, if you say we are that significant across Africa, why are we being treated in such manner in a country like South Africa?
One thing I found out from my journeys across Africa, with all sense of humility, and I'm not just trying to front anything as a Nigerian. I think Nigerians are just self-confident people. And anywhere you get to, you understand, you find out that the human nature, you see that people think, why are you so confident? Even when a Nigerian is even wrong doing something, he stands with confidence, you understand, to defend it. And this can probably offend our people. And then one other thing you should look at is that Nigerians are quite industrious. Okay. Give it to them. In fact, you know, there's always this joke that any country you get to and you don't find an Igbo man who is a Nigerian anyway, just run away from that place. So that tells you how industrious we are. Nigerians will turn around anything. If what we are going through domestically is happening in some other countries, I'll tell you people who have taken to the streets, fighting and things like that. But Nigerians always have a way of adapting to it. So for me, I believe that the xenophobic thing, because I go to South Africa at least once a year for the Indaba conference. And you see people there, even in the salons now, you want to do your hair, you find them everywhere walking. And these other people, you see them, I'm talking of Cape Town experience, you see them lined on the streets, waiting for to be fixed, you understand, for their daily jobs or something. So why the Nigerians, understand, are mindful of where they're coming from and the challenges at home, that with the problems they have to solve at home. So they are busy working. And somebody sees you living, and then Nigerians know how to work hard and enjoy hard. I think there's a Swedish that did something and said the happiest place on the earth, which is seen, is Nigerian. If you find Oyinbo, these white guys are coming here for conferences and everything, and you take them out, you see that they really enjoy themselves. And I'll buttress it up with, there's a Nigerian who does an exchange program. He brings children from America, you understand, to come to Akwa Ibom, even the remotest part of Akwa Ibom. But do you know that they lobby this guy to bring them every year? He comes to just 16 students. But they want more, you understand, because of the kind of hospitality, Nigerians are extremely friendly. They are confident, so they are open, they embrace people. So for me, I think these are some of the challenges. So economically, you see people doing well, you see people self-confident, and then you don't feel intimidated and you believe, oh no, these people have to get out of our country. And then on the lighter side, the women made it worse. An average South African woman wants to date a Nigerian man. And so the men just believe, what's happening? Our women are rejecting us and they are following and you know what it means. So to me, I think these are some of the challenges.
Isn't it supposed to be a reason to want to embrace Nigeria?
When you are taking all their beautiful babes, you understand, and because I went to South Africa about 8 years ago.
Okay, so the South African men want to date Nigerian women?
No. The South African girls want to date Nigerian men.
So they should be advocating for Nigerians to stay in their country.
So, no, you can say that the South African ladies now took to streets and said, no, you cannot send their husbands away. You understand? Okay, so if you follow their story, because I was interested in these stories and I care for, they say, no, you can't take our husbands away. But because you find out that when the Nigerian man gets somewhere, the Nigerian man has a way of protecting their wives, make them comfortable, provide for them. And when you call, is it on a lighter note, audience? It's swagger.
If Nigerian women will agree with that.
Swagger. No, I tell you, when you see them treat foreigners.
So they treat foreigners better.
Because they know that, we are all Nigerians. We women too, we know how to hustle. But these people don't hustle. Okay. And they find a home where the man still wants to keep his standards, so everything comes in. So I think that's what happens.
It gives the balance.
It gives the balance.
What the patriarchal system wants. But that's on a lighter note. But from everything you have highlighted now, I see it as more of Nigerians taking, the responsibility. I do not really see the effort of maybe a government playing a bigger role. It's more of citizens being responsible, citizens thriving, citizens pushing for. So the conversation is basically about, yes, we have Nigerians that are willing, that are able, that are thriving, that wants to, put their names on the sands of time and all of that. But the government, on the other hand, what is the effort? have they really made the effort? Because when the whole xenophobia incident came, to light, part of my worries was, don't we have a government that should interface? We cannot have our people being killed, because there are cases of people who lost their lives. Yeah, and we are the giant of Africa. Can't we have a president that just gives an instruction? We have ambassadors all over the country, gives an instruction, and somehow the fact that we are that important plays out in this conversation, because apparently it looks like it's just Nigerians taking responsibility, and more like a father or a child without a father and a mother. Yeah.
No, I don't want to see it like that, my dear, because if you see the reactions of government, you see there are quite a number of things we don't read. And it's not everything that government brings to the because you remember that some Nigerians, I told you that I was following that story because I saw some incidences I didn't like. The way women were dehumanized, brought to the streets nakedly, and the way these guys were just treating them. And if you look at what you are seeing, you find that constant face that goes out every day, you start saying, where's South African government in itself? What did South African government do? The sovereignty of a nation, when you see what guides it, you have to be very careful. So that's
even at the point where your own people are being dehumanized.
Yes, you have to be very careful. So what do? You start with dialogue, and which was what they started in. They moved in, wrote letters, and sent in. The National Assembly debated it on the floor of the House, and the National Assembly set up a team to go to South Africa to dialogue. So for me, I think these are the first stage. And even instantly, the diaspora, the DG Diaspora Commission provided facilities to say, when you want to leave, those who want to leave, can you leave? You understand? And they tried as much as possible to take inventory of properties and things that are damaged. And I believe that whether we like it or not, South Africa will be held responsible, because you find some other countries who moved in. Nigeria, remember our size, our population, and our responsibility. When Nigeria sneezes, it affects the whole country. So you don't exercise your power as much as you should. You want to be very careful in doing it. But you can see smaller countries immediately moved in and said, oh, they cut ties with this. People are expecting Nigerians to do that. You can't do that easily, because indirectly too, some things affect us. Look at our communication, for instance. Look at so many other things. So we have to be very careful.
Is it basically because we depend on them solely?
No. I don't think
we should have.
I don't think it's because we depend on them, my dear. You see, the diplomatic relations countries matter. If you do fire for fire instantly, you can. I want to be very careful talking about Trump. You understand? Look at President Trump. Some of the things are backfiring on him. The relationship with Canada. You understand? Yes, I'm American, I'm big, we are this, our economy is this. But you can see that America lost grounds in some things that it will take a while if they can even ever catch up, because overnight Canada grew up. And those things they thought Canada cannot do, especially when you look at the steel industry, you understand, Canada turned elsewhere. So you have to be very careful in exercising diplomatic relationship. And I believe that our government wants to use, I'm not speaking for government, I believe that our government wants to maximize every opportunity, you understand, in dialoguing. And that's what they did. And if you even look at ambassadors, see the immediate switch. You understand? They decided to tell, like somebody who can come up with fire for fire, you understand, was saying, there was a swap between Germany and South Africa, and I'm sure it must be for strategic reasons too. So some of these things I'm not in government to be able to explain, but from what you and I can read on paper, that's my own interpretation of it.
But let me outrightly ask, what is your view? In your view, what is your greatest or maybe the biggest obstacles showing development or slowing development in Nigeria across Africa?
I think what is slowing development in Nigeria is infrastructural gap.
Okay.
Infrastructural gap is very, very important. If we have, and thank God for the fintech, you understand, who is trying to build a market rail that is to be able to move their things. When I say market rail, moving digital digitalization across Africa. But generally, when you don't have infrastructure, even within the country, let's look at within the country, how many things are rotting away? And that's why we have spikes with seasons. But if we have storage facilities where we can store things, where we can do things, I can assure you that it won't be as bad as it is. So infrastructure is very important. If we have connectivity here and there, and goods and services can move at free will, you understand, especially with the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, you understand, that has been signed. Nigeria signed this in 2019. You understand, the free flow, you understand, we encourage movement of goods and everybody will be fully engaged.
Strongly, I would say part of the government's strong opinion and solution to this xenophobia incident. It's not the first time it's happening. That's why it's a big concern. But you find them say things like, okay, come back home. Don't travel again. You don't have to go to a place where you're treated as in such manner. And Nigerians would say the country is not conducive. Why would your solution just be come back home? Our arms are wide open to receive.
But let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. I always laugh, especially when I was in the House of Reps. In my community where I come from, Ileoluji, in Ondo State, if you know the number of citizens that relocated to the US, they sell virtually everything to be able to raise the money, the visa. I think he even took the embassy some years back to come to Ileoluji and say, what magic do you people do to be able to win the lottery and move to America? It's good. Your movements are good. What part of the country? That's Ondo State, you understand? You know, it's good. It has helped because when you get to that community today and you see the impact of what that movement has done in terms of remittances back home and what they've been able to use it, at least provide basic shelters for their parents, for themselves and all that. But it is not enough still. I always tell people that why do people dare it and go through the high seas, you understand? Just because you want to...
Some go legitimately.
So, because you want to cross over, and cross over to what? There are certain countries here you can say, yes, I want to go because of their respect for human rights. But there are certain countries, like recently I was being invited to South Africa for a conference, a WIM conference, and I just tactically declined and I said, I can't see you treating my people like this and wanting me to come. That's my personal thing. My personal judgment is different from government. And I expect everybody to be able to do a critical cost-benefit social cost analysis and look at it that, what does it even pay me? How much are they paying me? We say our country is bad, but I tell you that some people are making it. You are still living in there, I'm living in there, you understand? So it's a question of equally you finding what to do, you understand? Because I find out that most times people reject even services here and go and pick up worse employments over there. And wait, there's no because of anything. Okay. You must be able to respect your life. You must be able to respect yourself. When dignity is taken out of life, this money, where we make money, we equate money to God. Once you have money, I know the Nigerian mentality too. Once you have money, your respect, everything goes up in the society and things like that. To me, I think it should be more than that. You understand? We should have some form of contentment, and I see that a lot among the white people. When they move into a house, they just have a small bag. You understand? And once they move, so government on its own must try to provide enabling environment for citizens, so that once you provide that enabling environment for citizens where you can access shelter, you can run on a mortgage, you can buy your car on you understand, on mortgage, or that is part payments and things like that, I'm sure things will get better. But for you to go and talk yourself in a place where you're not even sure of your kind of investment, I don't think is the best option, no matter what government does to you. Because here you still have the third tier of support, external support. I'll tell you, I'm meeting you maybe for the first time. If I step out of this place and you are hungry, God forbid, if you call me, I'm likely to answer. In a foreign land, there's nobody to call. We have our extended family system. We have our friends who are our first responders in times of crisis. Who do you call overseas? So when you are looking at a country and you want to relocate, I'm not saying people should not relocate. Think wisely before you relocate.
Okay, so do you think if Nigerians are able to see, because you mentioned, the fact that some people reject jobs here and go outside to pick them, which I totally agree. There are, some menial things that people will not do. But somehow I feel like the reason is because, for example, look at our minimum wage. Our minimum wage is as little as cannot even afford you a full day's meal. I mean, breakfast, lunch, dinner for some people. And this is what a family, to some, in some community, will depend on. They will not just depend on it for themselves alone. Some of them use it to feed their children, it is to send them to school. These things are real, right? It is that real. And we don't have laws that even project or talk about these things, because as far as I'm concerned, that man that sits in the maybe House of Reps, in the Senate to make all of these laws, do not understand the day-to-day survival of the common man in Nigeria. So somehow it would never occur to them to reason, because they say it is he that wears the shoes that knows where it pinches. So we must have that social infrastructure plan, you understand, that is able to carry the grassroots along. It's not just coming to them when you need them for elections and all of that. And somehow I really feel that most of these countries look at us the way they look at us, because they know that, like I said, we're almost like orphans. I'll treat you anyhow. A woman that knows, or a woman that marries a man that basically this man knows you are depending on me for your survival, your parents meant nothing to you, you're likely to be treated badly because they know I am your all in all. So it's more like the situations, I would really equate that to the situation of, what Nigerians go through in the hands of these foreigners, because they know, go back home, you want to be here, we know you need us. So, I mean, you should be at our beck and call. And even as at that, to an extent, they still are treated financially better than at home. A menial job in Nigeria, if you were employed as, say, a housekeeper, a house help, you know the difference as compared to when you are employed as a house help in a country like the UK. I'm not trying to demarcate us in any way, but this is the reality. And our government needs to understand. It's not just by saying you people should come back home. It's also by creating an enabling environment. I don't think it's too much. Right now, the request of so many Nigerians is, can we even be safe? It is no longer about build roads. It's no longer about give us lights. It's no longer about give us water. It's our lives are in danger. We can't even move freely. Don't worry about all of those things. Can we be safe? That is where we are at right now in Nigeria. And you say people should come back home? Make it make sense, ma'am.
No, I agree. You see, I'm not. One thing I want you to know is that I agree with you. Everything you have said. And in fact, I'm afraid of the next republic, because what is happening? The next republic of legislators, you are finding a trend where the children of the rich, the children of the top politicians are just substituting their parents.
Yes.
That is, people who have never worked all their life, people who have no experience, you understand?
Have
never tasted poverty. You understand? So how would they empathize with it? So I agree completely with you. I agree completely with you that there should be a social security system in this country. I agree with you. But our conversation, let me take you back to your initial question. Your initial question is that this xenophobic attack right now that is happening, how is government handling it? That was what you asked, and that was what I answered. But if you now look at the generics, what caused it? That's a different thing. What caused it, you understand, is this inequality. What caused it is the disparity, you understand, in salaries, in payments. You understand, the gap between the rich and the poor, or the one at the top of the ladder and the one at the bottom of the ladder, is extremely wide. The corruption in the country is enormous, except we all shy away from it. And if I tell you instances, you will cry. Even as a professional, there are certain professionals the professions that are wiping off gradually.
Yes.
Because why? Even when you submit proposal, you can't guarantee your proposal because you nurture the proposal. You just wake up and you find out that somebody else has been given because the person has a link or so many dirty things are happening. So I'm not condemning everything you have said. I believe that there's a need. Somebody said something, maybe it's on Facebook. She said, is it John Stone or something? She said there was a man who beat the wife recklessly, and they hunted for that man and got the man. But the wife now backed off. You understand? And so Tom was now saying, whether you like woman, you come or you don't come. Once you beat your wife, you've offended all of us, and we will take it up until we cleanse the society, because government enough cannot cleanse the society. So we are all guilty of this, because where are we guilty? Even the followers, people who kill, and vote for wrong candidates. You see evil and you refuse to talk about evil. You see evil, you refuse to react because you've been given money. And somebody say, no, it's because they're extremely poor. No, it's still the love for money. So it's a cyclic thing that we all have to sit down and look at and address. But I agree with you that there's a need, you understand, to revise the salary structure. There's a need to remove the PEPs. The PEPs are too many, especially when you hear what national legislators are taking. And that is why everybody is scrambling. There's no job again. Everybody is scrambling to be in National Assembly because you believe that once you are in National Assembly, I can tell you that less than 2% of the people going to National Assembly or vying for National Assembly have interest to project. Ask them, what do you want to drive? I showed interest in senatorial thing. Why? Because I'm interested in natural resource governance. But I'll tell you that it doesn't always work like that. So what are they after? Oh, that's once I get their power, because they control the budget, they implement the budget, they do you understand? They get more than 50% of the income that comes to the country. So virtually everything. So what trickles down is nothing, and so that creates a widening gap. And when you go to social function, the one that irritates me in recent times is to see people carry bundles, bills. You no longer even take pieces. Government came and said they banned spraying, but we now went to an advanced level where you carry bills of money, and then you start. So that will trigger off emotions and the kind of kidnappings and things you see. So I agree with you totally that the ills in the society need to be addressed, and security agencies must do, you understand, must come out to really enforce. Because I take this to call out MTN, because when you see what happened. There was a story I was listening to yesterday on kidnapping. The guys use phone. Yes. And when they use phone, will MTN tell me, then what's the GPS all about global positioning? You understand? Why do we have the space agency? You understand? If there's a collaboration between all these people, we should be able to track every phone, every location.
Are we supposed to just blame only MTN? I think MTN needs to
not that is MTN and every that is all telecommunication system. Not necessarily MTN is a popular one. That's whether it's Glo, whether it's anything. As long as they make a phone call, we should be able to track. And then where's our space agency? You understand? Our space agency must be able to sit up. You understand, to address all these things. Then you will find out that these ills, if they are managed, we will start getting results.
Okay, let's go a bit to the mining sector, which is your specialty. Now, Nigeria is richly blessed with natural resources. I served in Kogi State, Lokoja, and I know that state is blessed with natural resources across Nigeria. There are wonderful states. You have Enugu, which is blessed in coal. I'll be hearing these things from primary school. Like, you will hear the states that has the most. We have limestone in, Kogi State, right? And other beautiful tin and the rest of them. In strategically, Nigeria is blessed. But at the end of the day, I have grown into adulthood, and I have not seen any multinational or company that is making good use, aside the likes of Dangote, that is still at least, which some people are still calling out and saying monopoly, accusing of every other thing. But we've not really seen the government make use of these natural resources. There is still this gap. So many communities have still remained underdeveloped, regardless of its natural resources. Why do you think this gap still exists?
Maybe I should plead with you to invite me and some others severally so that you can understand the mining sector.
Okay.
Mining is not a la carte.
Okay.
Mining is capital intensive.
Okay.
Mining needs a lot of capital. Okay. Mining needs investors. Mining needs enabling environment. And so if you need all those things, then that means you have to work at it. Remember, our country abandoned mining for several years. Between 1962 to 1999, there was really no organized mining in this country. So for you to just wake up overnight and think, oh, you want to go back to that to mining and be on the front burner, forget about it. It's not possible. What we should do is that we should commend the democratic dispensation that came up and said we just have to diversify our economy from oil. So we have so much oil infrastructure, but to have no mining infrastructure. So it started with President Obasanjo, and it has moved like that. And to this present president, who in his own wisdom brought in the current minister, Dr. Dele Alaki, who is doing so much, in fact, to the point of stepping on toes, if you follow the mining sector. He came up with a 7-point agenda, you understand, to be able to address the mining sector, the gaps in the mining sector. And he has been aggressive, going on various road shows to be able to promote, because you have to sell it to investors, because mining has taken a center stage globally. Why? We are shifting. Climate change is accelerating the development of mining. And so if climate change is doing that, because that means you have to think of smart mining. And then to do smart mining, do we have the supporting infrastructure? We don't have the supporting infrastructure. Do we have the capital? How many of us? Our Nigerian businessmen are used to quick wins. You understand? Let me do this and get my returns. Mining is not like that. So you have to woo in investors to come. What of data? You have to get accurate data, because nobody wants to go and invest billions, you understand, and find out that you've wasted your money. So yes, we have some data, but those data has to be authenticated. And then for you to drive in investors, you need critical reports. That reports have to be prepared by experts. One jock expert earns about $250,000. So how many people can afford to do that? So those are things we've been laying the foundation in the sector, and it's been bringing in its own attractions. Today we have Segilola in, so you said you've not seen, so I'll just give you a few. Segilola, you understand, I'm sure in your geography in those days, you have always said Osun has gold, Kebbi has gold, your Zamfara has gold. If you go to these people, they are making their money, cool money. Segilola makes billions every year, you understand, from his gold. And he's exporting. Governments can never be in mining. What's government doing in mining? Government has no business mining. You've heard what I've said. Even one regime can probably not complete a cycle of mining. So if they go into mining, what becomes of it? What government can do is to provide the enabling environment to make mining thrive. And that is precisely what this government is doing. Bringing in investors, creating...
Get any form of returns?
Of course, they get returns from royalties. They get returns from royalties and taxes. And if you follow, you find out even the tax now, you know, the NIS has just been created, Nigeria Revenue Service has just been created, where all taxes, you understand? If you look at mining cadastre that issues the license, the revenue jumped up. Because why? People are anxious now, speculations, you know. People even understand the sector, and not everybody is just going to get a license. And when you get your license, there are payments, you pay your annual rents and things. So government is making money from. And if you look at what it used to be and the current earnings, before it is less than 0.1% that gets contributed to the GDP. But now the thing has increased to more than 6%, so which is a major growth. So for me, mining is doing very well. It's on a good trajectory in the country. And then remember again that you need skills. If you don't have skills, you will continue to export skills to come. So those are things we are doing, building capacity. Government is building capacity of people. Institutions are changing their curriculum, you understand, making sure that mining is added to it. And recently UNDP launched the mine pod in University of Nasarawa. And so quite a number of institutions are doing well. And that's why I said, if we don't dig into research, you understand, because laying a foundation is the most difficult thing, because when foundations are being laid about a beautiful building, you don't see it until the building comes up. Oh, this building is beautiful. The mining sector is doing so much in this country. And I want to commend the permanent secretary, is an engineer, and then the minister, you understand, who is doing so much, you understand, in fact, so committed, you understand, to readdressing Nigeria and repositioning Nigeria. So we have quite a number of companies. The lithium, you understand, lithium is a critical component. You find out that in Nasarawa, you understand, they are there, and then there's a major plant in Kaduna now that has opened up doing lithium. So you have them all like that. The thing you are talking about, our tin is continuously being exported to other countries. If you get to Thailand, you understand, you find that we are a major supplier of things, you know, that take from here.
So if we have such a blooming environment right now, it's coming up, why is it that we still have a government that borrows and borrows? Because we are still to see this reflect in our economy. We're supposed to see this reflect in the country's GDP and all of that. So is it that we are yet to see, you know, the number of investors that are needed to make it boom as it should boom, or we don't have enough governors that are making the environment? Maybe we just have one governor. Maybe you've highlighted Nasarawa State over and over again. Maybe that's just one example of, you know, some of the governors making this possible. What do we really need to do to bring about that shift? Because investors you've mentioned Do we need more people? Do we need to market this to more people? Do we need to lobby in more investors and just show them you understand?
You cannot lobby investors, because you lobby investor. If you lobby investor, an investor comes in, that's foolishness.
Okay.
An investor is always looking for profits.
Okay.
An investor is always looking for enabling environment. Constant policy somersaulting is a danger. When you come up with a policy today and tomorrow is somersaulted to come up with another policy. So inconsistency is a danger, especially in the mining sector, because the risk associated with it is high. So the first thing is that you want to de-risk the environment. Okay. So when you de-risk the environment, and that's where you have to bring in your bankers. Your bankers must, you understand, we need to look at how to change our interest rates from the high two digits, you understand, to single digits for mining. This is very important. So when you don't see the investors coming as much as you think they should, they too are equally watching their other destinations. And Africa is so endowed with mineral resources. As you speak, how much billions of dollars was invested in Guinea, you understand, for the mining of the aluminium, you understand? So the truth of it is that mining is not a child's play. Mining is not something you say. And when you say you don't see development, I wish you knew how terrible this country was during the pre this government. We are all responsible. I tell people, for every $1 or 1 penny a politician dashes you, and you go to the house and you think he's dashing you away our life. So we are all corrupt, we are all guilty. So if we want to reset, let us all blame ourselves and say, we are all part of it. You understand? Okay, now we want to change, we've repented, we want to make sure, we set the agenda properly. And how do you do this thing? By putting round holes in round pegs, square hole. And to do that, there are some agencies opportunity to call out government. Mr. President cannot do it all, but the coordinating minister or SGF must wake up to look at it. Frequent jumping into aircraft and traveling out of this country does nobody any good, especially in view of the flight cost. You travel all over the country, you understand, all over the world. We are always the largest delegation. What do we bring back home? In the era of technology, all we have to do is build up a strong technological base, you understand, and each office you have an opportunity where they have their room, a media room, where they can anchor and participate, you understand, because every program naturally now has a hybrid status where you can work and you are still doing your work and you can still participate in conferences. But we all jump out to all these things and we are indisciplined. There are some DG, you get to the offices, you don't even get to see them. You start wondering, where do they work? How do they work? Because even their own staff don't even get to see them because they're always outside the country. And why? Just because of Esther Code. So if we stop all this nonsense where we review cost, you will see that we have additional savings to be able to drive the country. This should be a period of sacrifice. And if we really go through this sacrifice where we tighten our belt, because I believe that a father who knows he's running bankrupt sits down and call the family and the wife and children and say, see, let's reprioritize our goal. You draw up your agenda and then you all make sacrifices. But in Nigeria, we are asking masses to make sacrifices and then we ourselves are not making that. That is, the leaders we see are not making the sacrifices. So it is not encouraging. It is not a good index, you understand, for followers who see that and want to make sacrifice. And that's why you see people doing all manner of things. So, and then when people are caught, you see the plea bargain. He's saying I got an interpretation of the plea bargain because plea bargain overseas, you understand, still does not take sanctions away from you. So I believe that these are things, and now judiciary have to sit up. If we look at all these ills in our society, I'm sure we will get better results. But if you sit down and do a thorough evaluation, you see that some ministers are doing very well, putting in their energy. Some governors are doing so well, putting in their energy. And then the president, you find out that the president cannot micromanage. He cannot. If he micromanages, then he won't get anywhere. But he's committed, and you can see the reforms. Let's look at the fuel issue. You understand? With the global crisis that erupted recently, how do you think Nigeria will have been? We have been grinded completely, but for Dangote, who equally is even exporting to neighboring countries. Suddenly we became a major hub. You understand, for this? So I believe that all other sectors can equally be translated to that. But all hands must be on deck, from the young person to the adult, young adult, and elderly. We must all be, and even NGOs, we all have stake, and that takes me to Focus Africa. You understand? If you look at what Focus Africa is doing, Focus Africa is doing a great job bringing in women, you understand, to the forefront, saying women are there, women can be in the boardroom, women can be in developmental space, and networking across Africa for productivity, because a nation that neglects more than 50% of its own population is equally at risk, you understand, of extinction.
Okay, so tell us more about Focus Africa.
Focus Africa, incidentally, is a dream initiated by a young person, and let me just read it out so that I don't mess it up, because I really love what he does. He said, Focus Africa Women Forum is a premier initiative fostering women's empowerment, advocacy, and training across Africa. It connects female leaders, entrepreneurs, and professionals to promote boardroom leadership, business growth, and mentorship. And what is their mission? Aim to bridge the gender gap in leadership, focusing on women in business, governance, and the marketplace. And then, how do they do this? They create funds which they give out to women who are, you understand, who probably will not have any opportunity, because you want to take loan from the bank, you need a collateral, you want something. So small loans are given out to people, you understand, which they're able to raise, and this helps them as startup to be able to start. And then women, you understand, when women network together, you're able to open up doors, you understand, to one another, just like the kind of camaraderie that men do. Women don't have anywhere to run to. So if we start building up your network and strengthening your network, you know who is somewhere, you know who you can reach, and it helps you a lot.
Okay, you spoke about the president's reform. I would really commend that aspect of this very administration. Now, one thing I have noticed with this administration is the president's ability to link up ministries and bodies together to bring them closely knitted so that reforms will be driven better. For example, the Ministry of Education recently had a stakeholders meeting with a data collection team, NEDI, and they came together to see that the education sector has good structure around its data collection so that they can work together. So this is a ministry working with another body to ensure that there is indeed growth in the education sector. Now, talking about the mining sector now, you mentioned education, you mentioned the fact that we need skilled hands, and some of these universities have, begun to integrate courses, that would educate graduates in this field. I heard of an incident. A very close friend of mine lost his life while he was trying to mine in Jos. I don't know how they went about it, but I heard they were digging and somehow sand
collapsed.
And when I heard of that, this is a guy that just finished school. He just graduated, waiting for his youth service. Or I think he just finished youth service and trying to hustle, and they went about doing their own mining in the way they, I don't know how skilled, but I know he studied geography, right? He studied geography. I don't know what aspect he focused on, but I remember well he studied geography. So we have a graduate. I believe geography should teach all of those things too. I don't know how well they do teach it, but maybe we need the integration of technology and every other kind of tools, every other kind of knowledge that will be needed for this very time and age to be able to effectively carry out this do I call it hustle or skill or whatever it is. But how well is the mining sector working with relevant such as the ministry?
Let me just help you. Let me just help you with that. Let me just help you with that, and let me look at the screen boldly and tell Nigerians there's no hustling in the mining sector. Because when you hustle, you might lose your life, just like you said. To hustle, there are certain areas in the mining sector, from mines to markets, has areas you can, but definitely not the exploration and the exploitation area. Because those are danger zones, because you can kill yourself in the process of it, just like you said. Actually, what you have described, I think I heard of that accident, is an illegal miner. Does he even have a license to mine? That's the first instance. Because when you want to mine, there's a procedure. If you want to be a miner, the first thing is that you apply for a license. They look at the conditionalities. Do you have it? Then they give you an exploration license. You understand? So that exploration license gives you the opportunity to go and explore and find out where you are allocated. What do you have there? So in that process, you have been able to plan. So you can even start with ASM and graduate to small scale miner. You understand? So, and then when you are, the next thing is that you affiliate with a body. We have Miners Association of Nigeria. We have Women in Mining Nigeria. And when you are in this group, you find trainings. Like every last Thursday of the month, you understand, we do training, capacity training, strictly censored, talking on mining sector. So those things are things that help to build your capacity, to gain knowledge. And then you have peer group effect, where you can talk to people, somebody who is mining in a similar environment, where you can discuss with and know how to go about what you are doing. There are certain areas, of course, where you can be a broker, where you can be an assist, where you can work in the lab. But you know what, you even still have to get trained, because if not, you will go and buy fake.
So what do they teach in universities then?
What you teach in university is geology. You get geology, and then you go on field work, where you can identify rocks. And you find out that even when you come, you retrain yourself on the field. There are people who never stepped into the university who will identify rocks better than you. You understand?
Okay.
But so when you talk about geography has no relationship with geology. Geography just talks generally about rocks. But in geology, they break it down for you. You understand? To say this is what you have to do. This is, and that geology is divided. Even in geology, you can't say you're a geologist and you want to go for exploration. Because in exploration, there's your aspects there that you can do. The geophysicist has his own aspect he can do. The geochemist has his own aspect he can do. The hydrogeologist has his own aspect, and they're all within the team. You understand? The exploration team. So when we don't do things right and we call everything hustle, you understand? It came back to our introductory statement where we said we must learn to value our lives. We place money above everything. Oh, people are making money, let me go and make money. Are you trained to make money? But in terms of capacity building, in terms of training, there's a training school in Jos.
So are we saying that
there's a training school in Jos?
Just do theory and don't learn?
No. I went to the university, I read geology, first degree, before I went into engineering. The university gives you the basics, just like any other thing. A doctor is giving the basics. When you get to the field, you master it. Every profession, and that's why when you even get into government, there's what you call pupillage training. You understand? You go for it. And I want to use this opportunity to equally advise geology graduates now that there's mining in the air in Nigeria. You can have so many mining companies you can work with. Do volunteering. We hate to volunteer in Nigeria. And volunteering helps a lot. You understand? When you volunteer, you build up your capacity in the process. So, but there are institutions, there are mining institutions in this country where you can learn mining in itself. You understand?
Wow, that was quite educative. I mean, I never really saw it in this light. I always thought, geography. I know people that study geology and geography, so it has helped me understand the difference, right? But then let's leave you with this question. What message would you like to share with young Nigerians, especially young women who want to contribute meaningfully to national and continental development?
That's a very, very beautiful question. For young women out there, one thing is that for you to contribute, you must be useful to yourself. The temptation is always in the air. In fact, the new language is that you use what you have to get what you want. I think that is right and it is wrong. There are certain things you have that you cannot use to get what you want. That is your dignity. You must promote your dignity. You must keep it intact. You must build up your self-confidence. And how do you build your self-confidence? It's through education. Not necessarily your degree. Thanks to COVID. I always say thanks to COVID, and people wonder why. So don't get me wrong. I lost 2 dear ones, my biological sister and my in-law, to COVID. Yes. So it is not that. But if you look at the ease of COVID, it accelerated digitalization. As we speak, if you go to Coursera, if you go to most of these educative platforms, yes, they are still registered for another course. You see, there are so many courses you can study and have certification. So that builds up your confidence. Some is not even about the certificates. So whatever you have in your CV, you should be able to defend. Now, number 3, you must identify mentors. Who do you want to mentor you? You understand? In this space, dream your dream and look for a mentor to fit that dream. You must reach out to that mentor to be able to build. And when you do that, you must have character. Character and charisma are very important, because for you to be able to maximize or get benefits from your mentor, you must have character. Some of us are too proud or too, you understand, whatever, and you say, who was she talking about? And we don't have that patience, you understand? So, and we lose what we should get. I always tell people who move around me, I say, have you studied the principle, the Elijah-Elisha principle? Elisha wanted some things from Elijah, isn't it? And he said, please, I want your double portion. And the man just looked at him and laughed and said, you want my double portion? No problem. If you want my double portion, all you just have to do is watch me. If you're able to catch my mantle, isn't it? So I can imagine Elisha that his 100% focus was on Elijah. And he did. Did he do the double portion? Yes. So it's the same thing if you want to succeed in life. But you'll find some of us where we should start. You will find some young ones, we even tell you that they want to start as a senator. What are you going to discuss in the National Assembly when you get there? There's something called experience. You must gather experience. You must learn at the feet of the masters. When you do that, you understand, I tell you, you will succeed. It's what you have that you can export out. If you don't have something, you cannot export it out. You understand? So it is good you develop yourself so that you can export out something. And don't go on a competitive journey. You understand? Where you are busy competing on computer. It debars you from gaining the knowledge you should gain. So for me, I think if you use those tips as a young lady out there, irrespective of your parents' status, because some of us are crazy about our parents' status, and unfortunately most of those parents even stole money, you understand, and then they think it's something, and then later they just suddenly find themselves that when that parent vacates from the air, there's nowhere to go to because they have messed up the opportunity they have. Forget about what your parents have acquired. It might be lucky in his generation to have stolen so much, to have so much, or to have worked so much, to have so much. But you never can know what will happen, especially in a country where the currency tumbles, where there are all manner of IMF regulations. Tomorrow, the very rich father the money can become insignificant. Build up your own character, your own charisma, your own, you understand, your own background. Build it up to concretize it. And that's where you'll be able to go far in life.
Wow, so encouraging. I think I found myself another mentor. Thank you so much, Ma, for that piece of advice. I mean, it is a whole lot. I hope our viewers are jotting. Well, we wish we could take more, but we'll wrap up the conversation here. I want to say a very big thank you to our amiable guests, full of wisdom and insight and so much experience. Thank you so much, Ma, for coming today. And to our viewers, I say we wrap it up here. But then we'll join Sadia Yakubu right now as she takes us on the second conversation for the day. Global Morning continues shortly. Please stay with us.